Talking about something, making noise over there, just trying to get money. He'll be like, hey, mom, yeah, how about we try to shut me fuck up? Yeah. And his reply to everything and everybody is, you're a hoe for that. You're a hoe for that. You're a hoe
Lord.
for that. You're taking the day off. You're feeling sick. You're a hoe for that. Like,
Dang.
everybody is a
Alrighty. Hi, everybody. As more people get to join us, I would love to like get on, a warm-up introduction. I know my flyer was somewhere out there, but you cannot see my face because of the picture. So I'm the face behind. So in the meantime, while other people join, I want to meet y'all. I know the organization has like, people all around the US or maybe worldwide. So I would like to hear about more y'all. Like, um, are you ladies studying for to become a professional pilot? What's like the goal? And if so, what licenses are you working on? What's like for y'all right now?
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know if I'm the only one in here, if there's more people as well, but just a private pilot working on my instrument rating. And yeah, I would like to maybe become a commercial pilot one day. So just, yeah, that's all about me.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I'm happy to know, private pilot is a way of a journey. It's very fun. It's challenging. I understand it's challenging. Has a lot of the basics that even now as an instructor you get to work on. And I'm not gonna lie, now as an instructor, going back to the basics of private is heavy. It's just like, Lord, we saw this, it is quite important, private. But yes, well, I'm happy. I'm happy. And so far, do you like instruments? Are you doing it simultaneously, or are you waiting for your private first and then instruments?
Oh yeah, no, I'm a private pilot now, but working on my instrument.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so
got it.
just in the process.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely, yeah. Instrument is fun too. It is to my personal thought, I think is one of the most challenging certifications. Uh Honestly, because I think everything has to go and follow to the T. So I do feel that. And how far in instruments are you right now?
I'm preparing for a check ride coming up, so just trying to button it all up. But yeah, I completely agree with you that it's all the precise nature of flying and getting everything. There's so much responsibility and it's so important. So yeah, it's definitely been
Yeah.
a process.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, well, that's very interesting. I'm very glad, to have y'all here, even if it's, the fourth of us. I feel like this topic touch bases with not only one certificate, it's just a general topic for us as pilots to have in mind because again it's a wide topic. So even if people starts to join, I feel like they can catch up on whatever, they are. I'm trying to open just a second material here, but I don't know why it's not downloading here. Okay, I got it. Okay. Oh, alrighty. Um, so more or less how I want to work out this lesson today. Um, is pretty much scenario basis and we're gonna talk about I'm a person who likes to um you know ask questions, ask for your feedback, for your insights. Maybe we get a solution altogether, even though that I might know the solution, but I want y'all to participate. I don't like to just talk, and as a team, because this is a topic that is worked as a team. um I want, participation. Of course, I understand if you all don't want to participate, that's completely fine. Or if you want to just put it on the chat, that's also completely fine. um but further more in your career, there will be a point that participation it's key to come to a solution, right? So I'm gonna start then, and it's okay if it's only the four of us, that's fine. Whoever wants to join later, they most definitely can. So I'm gonna share my screen um with a little presentation I did, and let me just okay. Alrighty, so as y'all can tell, I am Laura Thompson. I am 26 years old, and I'm talking to y'all from Texas. So welcome to my TED Talk. Today is going to be about risk management, and what is it about? Why do we need this topic to be considered more often? And why is it important for, right? So we're going to start with a little setting, okay? We're going to start with a scenario. I'm going to give you guys a setting, and as the situation progresses, I want to give you guys a few minutes to think about what's going on and how can we work around as a team to bring up solutions, okay? All right. So the setting is, let me see if I can just put it here. All right. So the setting is original turboprop flight from Denver to Aspen, Colorado. Winter morning. Let's talk about like December, around winter time. The aircraft is a Dash 8 Q400. For some reason, it didn't let me put the picture of the plane, but it looks, it is a multi-engine plane. It looks very similar to, let me see if I can find like a picture somewhere. So you have kind of have an idea of how it looks. Well, okay, well, the point is it is a multi-engine plane. It's considered to be a good fit for short flights like Denver and other surroundings like Texas, for example. It does carry a good amount of passengers. So 34 passengers we have right now on board. The captain experienced but new to mountainous terrain. So as you all know, most on the West Coast, we have terrain, mountains, versus like the East Coast, central part of the United States, which is a little bit more flat, if not totally flat. Is very experienced, is new to the mountainous terrain. And the first officer is fresh out of training. So we have a person that is newly experienced to the mountainous terrain, and the other person is just came out of training, say flight school per se, right? The situation is the crew receives a weather update mid-flight. Aspen is experiencing rapidly deteriorating visibility due to unexpected valley fog. And for those who might know a little bit about weather, and maybe other participants might know as well, fog can build up very fast as an upslope fog, correct? Due to mountainous terrain. So the destination airport is now reporting below minimums for the approach. Nearby alternates are also marginal, and the aircraft is carrying just enough fuel for one approach attempt. And the diversion is to Grand Junction. All right. Sorry. So, from this situation, what can we come across with?
You might have some get there-itis because they want to complete the mission, but at the same time, it may not be the most practical. With the weather deteriorating, especially if the captain is not really experienced, and obviously the first officer is probably not really experienced. So I would start because I'm still a private pilot, looking at maybe eventually doing a instrument rating. I would start thinking about maybe going to Grand Junction ahead of time.
Okay. Very valid. Very valid. Yeah, I mean, it's a very valid opinion. We have definitely a huge point, which is weather. And unfortunately, we cannot do anything around weather to change it, right? But we can accommodate around it. So very valid point. Yes. Okay. All righty. So let's go and see what could get done, what we can get done. Let's see, next page. Okay. All right. So as we mentioned before, there is a few factors identifying, like Dale said, whether volatility fog was not forecasted whenever they tune into the ATIS, and visibility is dropping fast. So one of the major points that we need to look out, and whenever whoever is doing instrument, or if you get your instruments, is visibility is always key to make these decisions, right? We also have the limitation of fuel, which means that there's no room for multiple approaches in case we have to go around, or to go somewhere else but Grand Junction, right? Also, the experience of the crew is very limited. So it kind of like already tighten up the area of expertise, right? We have a captain that probably is experienced in other areas, but not in mountainous terrain. And that is also putting a lot of like pressure into what decision to take, right? Because neither of them has enough experience to say, you know what, let me just go ahead and think about this. Or let me go ahead and tell you that this is the correct way to go around this, right? Because neither of them has the experience to say so, right? Or do so. Now we do have passengers that are waiting on our decision, right? So the expectations of the passengers are taking connection to the ski resorts, and they're probably pressurizing the flight attendants to, hey, do you know when are we going to arrive? Do you know this? You know, if it's going to get worse, et cetera, right? So we do have a lot of like key points to make a decision based on the amount of risk, right? So part of this, and as a personal experience, and I don't know if y'all ride motorcycles or not, is something that I learned when I was going through my motorcycle safety course, is do not, kind of like outscale the skills that you have for the amount of risk that you want to put out. So if your risk is right here, if your knowledge is right here, but you want to like outscale it and kind of like show off, your skill is gonna, your risk is going to significantly increase. So don't ever increase the risk amount, just overall your knowledge skills, because that's something that we're heading towards a decision making that might not facilitate our best outcome, right? Excuse me for a sec. Okay. Sorry. So we do have the decision point, that is, the captain must choose between attempting the approach into Aspen, hoping the conditions improve, like just guessing, kind of like, well, hopefully the fog will just fade a little bit and we are able to, land. However, we have the option to divert, like Dale said, to Grand Junction, right? And this will almost guarantee the safety of the passengers as well as the flight, Even if it gets complicated, we need to ensure the safety overall. It doesn't matter if it takes us 3 more minutes, 5 more minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, but getting everybody safely is the most important thing, Okay, so with that being said, we are putting into the risk management in action. So like I mentioned before, things that are going to happen is we need to consult the company's risk matrix and recall, the recent training on get there it is, meaning, we need to get there because we need to get these passengers into their ski resorts, because is the pressure of the company telling you, or in this case, for example, if you fly with somebody else, your flight's cool, you need to get there because you need to get there, and that's something we're going to talk about a little bit further. But the get there itis is just like, don't always take it that way. Don't always feel pressurized to get there if you can't, So like Dale said before, they contact dispatch for updated meters and taps, confirming the fog is worsening. So indeed, the key factor is to always make sure that you're making the right decision, right? Because if you realize later on that you made it the incorrect decision, that then could cost you something else, right? However, it's understandable that safety measures that, oh, I was under the assumption that it was gonna get worse, you know? That's where the crew management works a lot. Like we need to communicate. What do you think that is the best source for us to take a decision, right? And that's my next point. The captain initiates a crew resource management discussion, inviting input from the first officer and the cabin crew. So communication is very important when we're doing this sort of decisions. One thing that you have to have in mind is that you don't have to do it alone if you have somebody else's opinion, right? And one thing that I will say is don't feel ashamed or embarrassed to ask for somebody else's opinion. Because if you do so, like, oh, what is this person going to think? Maybe he or she's going to think that I am just a naive. I want to like make sure this person knows that I know. Yes, but no. Okay. Yes, it is good that you like show the person that you know, but also on the right ways. Like, oh, I know that I have to communicate and I have to exercise my CRM discussions here because I want to make the right decision for the both of us, or even if it's for more people, right? And then as the final point is they decide to divert immediately, communicating clearly to passengers and ATC. So another thing is, and as I mentioned before, communication is just not in between the crew, but for those you have behind you, right? And I say this because as a personal experience, I took my mom to fly, and I decided to change my destination, and she was very confused at the end. It was like, oh, I was expecting to see beach and I end up landing somewhere else, you know? So they are very confused and they get to be like, wait, this is not what I thought it was going to be. So it comes there, the experience, the satisfaction, the overall, I don't like it, you know? Already the experience is not helping you because you had to divert, but on top of that you have the personal experience of dislike, of like, oh, they didn't let me know, now I don't know what to do, how can I rearrange this, etc., etc. Okay, so yeah, communicating to to your crew member, to your passengers, even if it's one passengers, is ideal to everybody be on the same page and not have any other discussions, because that could alterate the overall mood of the plane, and that avoids putting extra pressure already on the area of expertise that you have. Cool. So with that being said, what y'all think is risk management? In your words, what is risk management for you? Okay, taking into consideration all the things that could go wrong and decide how to deal with that. Yes, very valid. Ability to identify a hazard and to find a ways to make it not affect the safety of a flight. Good. Yes, that's perfect. That is amazing definitions. So pretty much is what you ladies have said. It is the decision-making process, because it's a process, right? We have to intake the information, we have to process the information and deliver a solution, right? So it's a decision-making process designed to systematically perceive, following your training for a successful safe outcome. Very correct. That is all very valid, correct answers. So if we combine all of them, is like I was saying, it's a decision-making process that is going to systematically perceive the hazards, okay? And from that, when we perceive the hazards, we are going to assess the degree of risk, right? So because we know that there's different degrees of risk, right? We can have a risk, for example, before flying, during flight, and after the flight, right? I mean, anything can happen. And a risk is not only just like weather. A risk could be a intoxicated passenger, right? A risk could be a sick crew member, you know? Those things are considered risk because they're volatile, and I'm not saying that is bad, but it could potentially affect the flight safety, right? So long story short, is the decision that we need to perceive hazards, assess, and mitigate. Okay. So perceive, assess, and mitigate. I'm perceiving the hazard. I'm assessing the hazard one way of another, right? Of the associated with it. And then what is my outcome? How am I going to mitigate? Okay. And for that, I have a couple of acronyms that I know y'all are very familiar with, especially being, or if you guys been already through private pilot. Is the acronyms of safe and PAVE, right? Are you all familiar with those acronyms? Perfect. So with that being said, let's put it into practice. So for example, I had here, and I apologize if my writing is not the greatest, but okay, let's see. Okay. PAVE. Okay, sweet. So let's go into another scenario that might put PAVE and safe, and I almost forgot the other one. PAVE. Yeah, PAVE and I'm safe are the most common ones. So for example, when can I use I'm safe acronym to determine if a flight could be good to go for today? If you're tired, okay. Under stress, okay. That's all very valid. Let's see. Okay. So the first one, it states for what? What's I states for? Correct. Not enough time to do pre-flight and flight. Correct. Illness. Correct. So I stands for illness. All right. M stands for medication. Correct. S stands for stress. Okay. A stands for kinda, but not quite. So A stands for alcohol and drugs. Okay. Aircraft is more towards the pave side, but also it is valid. But if I'm talking about myself, this will be more adequate. So alcohol and drugs, because we don't know. Like I could be celebrating my check ride today, right? That I passed, and I just decide to go party because I want to celebrate, right? So tomorrow I wake up like nothing and somebody invite me to fly. Do you think I should be going to fly tomorrow if tonight I intoxicated? Thank you. You're welcome. Have a good night. Exactly. So if I'm intoxicated for any reason, I shouldn't be going to fly, right? So alcohol, and drugs. And now drugs could be any type, not only like the type of drugs that we already know, but there's also some well, yes, let's just leave it that way, because you never know. We know, and I'm not sure, but there are some pilots out there that feel like drugs is something to go about stress and they feel more relaxed, or people that, for example, smoke certain things to feel more relaxed. So those things, we do have to have them in consideration when it comes to ourselves, right? But also, these are things that we need to consider when we fly with somebody else. All right. So what will F stand for? Correct. Fatigue. And the last one? Correct. They all both valid. So I label them, I usually put them as external factors, because they tend to come like externally to me. Either if it's eating, because it's something external to me. I'm being under pressure, I'm being rushed, something doesn't quite feel right with me. So I put them as external factors. But yes, these are pretty much the oh, sorry, I just put this box here. These are the things that I do look before I leave to the airport, in myself and with whoever I'm flying with. Because for example, if you take your cousins, your family members, but they are intoxicated, I mean, you can clearly tell that they've been drinking. You could clearly tell that they are under the influence of something. Would you be comfortable taking them out? Correct. So those are things that we need to mitigate, right? We have already, perceived the risk. I'm taking my friend who lives in California, for example, right? But she has been clearly drinking all night this past holiday, right? And she's been telling me, hey, or she's been telling you guys, hey, I need to go back to my mom's because she is already telling me to go back, etc., right? So there's a lot of things going on. First, she's intoxicated. Second, she's already putting pressure in you. Like, I need to get today. It needs to be today. I mean, how long does it take from here, for example, to Texas to Florida? It's a very long flight, right? Now, for a long flight, I need to be comfortable taking this person. So if I'm already not comfortable, why would I feel stressed about it, right? So those boxes of external factors and medication or alcohol or drugs are not being met quite yet. So I don't feel comfortable taking this person with me because I know if I take it in my own will, if she gets sick, if she gets to, I don't know, something gets to get worse up in the air because of other medical factors, then I'm going to be responsible, right? And I'm not mitigating the fact of risk. Oh, I could have not do it. I could have just prevented this whole thing from the beginning. But yes, that's important to know and to take care of, not only with you but with others who's coming with you. And this applies for everything, right? Because at the end of the day, you're the PAC, you know? Okay, cool. Now that we talked about oh, also I forgot to mention external factor could be also considered emotionally speaking, don't forget about that. Because I don't know, we just had a bad argument today, just right now. And tomorrow I'm going to be upset. Would I be in the right mindset to go out and be upset at the same time? Correct. So none of that should be in your head at all. And that's why, in the long run, we are pushing for that mental health support, because there are things that are accumulating in our heads in the long run, and we need to thread them out of our heads little by little. So it is very important that if you feel upset, that if you just don't want to show up to the world today or tomorrow, just don't do. It's extremely important to take care of yourself and others as well. All right, so that's us, okay, as the pilot, right? So what do you think when I'm looking for the plane could be a good acronym? And I mentioned it before. Correct. PAVE. Yay. PAVE. Oh, well, I wanted to change this to a different thing. Okay, let's make this another color. Yay. Okay. So PAVE. It's just different. Perfect. Okay. So, oh no. I don't use this too much. Sorry, guys. Oh, what happened? Okay. Let's just do this whole thing again. Okay. Sweet. So what does PAVE stands for? Correct. So pilot. Now, I don't want to get into detail with the pilot section, but what's at least the minimum thing that I need to make sure that I have with me so I'm able to go, you know? Because if I don't have them, oof, what if somebody catches me without those things? Correct. Very correct. So at least your minimal documentation, but have in mind that pilot also reroutes back to I'm safe. So your docs are important, but also it just cycles back to I'm safe. Okay, because you are the end of the day are the pilot in command, right? All right. I mean, you can have the documents and whatnot, but they're there just to make sure that you're legally good to fly. But if you're not, you know, mindset and bodily good to go, then you might not use them today. Okay. A, what A stands for? Aircraft. Good. So, aircraft is, and the questions are very simple. Is the aircraft appropriate for the trip? Am I certified to fly this kind of aircraft? Now, how would you feel if, for example, I'm not sure what kind of planes you all fly, but for example, somebody comes up to you and say, hey, I have a plane, right? But my pilot does not shows up. He or she hasn't show up for the time schedule, and I need a pilot, but I fly a Piper Meridian. Can you fly me out there? I mean, I'll pay you good. I pay you whatever you want. Can you fly me on a Meridian? Because I need a pilot like right now, today. Correct. So things like that, you just gotta, you know, focus your mind into. Is the aircraft the type that I fly? Now, and if this is the type that I fly, is it good? Is like, has maintenance has maintenance done on this aircraft? What kind of like things am I looking for? And also, is this aircraft airworthiness, right? Because a lot of the times we do take for granted that is airworthiness, but 80 to 90% of the times we tend to trust ourselves that most of the aircrafts are airworthiness and we don't check the documents. Now, how there was a airworthiness change not too long ago, stating that the registration for the plane is good to for how long? Yeah, correct. So there's some planes that you might need to be endorsed. Yeah, that is very correct. So we need to check documents. We need to check, you know, things of that matter. Now, quick question. If somebody by any, you know, for a mistake, because mistake happened, right? They take the weight and balance book of the aircraft. Can I fly it next day? Because it was, he's bringing it right back. Can I fly without my weight and balance book? Correct. Even if it looks like, oh, nothing's gonna happen. No, you don't want to fly out with no weight and balance book. That's something that is gonna cause you a lot of issues further down. All right. So aircraft, we know aircraft comes along the inspections, the atomato flames, all of the things to look for, right? Now, V, what does V stands for? Good. environment. And this is for any type. And again, we are routing back to I'm safe, but now specifically for that external factor. This could be any type of environment. Could be weather. It could be your mom yelling at you through the phone of why did you just went on a cross country 2 days ago and you haven't be able to come back. Well, because I'm in the middle of a storm. I don't know, you know? So things like that could happen and had happened. As a matter of fact, correct, terrain, things that you are just like, what is this, you know? That is not it doesn't come to you on a normal daily basis. And as a personal experience, I flew out of Dallas. And it's funny because I met this girl through Facebook, like we're meeting right now, through a flight community. And it comes out that this lady has her own plane and she was putting it down for maintenance on Dallas. But she flew all the way from North Carolina to Dallas with her husband, which is a pilot as well. And so she didn't feel confident to fly back alone because she was also working on her private pilot. And I'm not gonna lie, it was probably like my first or second time crossing a mountainous terrain. But for her, the experience already flying back home, kind of like alone, was very like heavy for her, you know? So we of course made our fuel stops along the way, which was great. I mean, knowing people, getting to know everybody else. But before crossing the Rocky Mountains, we were like, Jesus Christ, there is a lot of wind going on up and down, the up slopes, the downdrafts. And it's going as high as 8,000 feet, you know? But we said, like, do you feel that you want to go above 8,000 feet? Or what do you want to do? So what would have you done if that was your case? We are sitting in Tennessee, right? We spent the night in Tennessee because it was going dark. I mean, I was already instrument rated, but she was not, and it was her plane, right? And she asked you, "Hey, what do you feel like what do you feel like doing? I need your insight." So I told her, you know, we can settle the plane here, look for a place and stay the night, right? If you don't feel comfortable. That is the number one thing. Feeling comfortable with your decision making. So if I would have put pressure on her to keep going, God forbid we go dark and with no terrain safe to land, you know? So next morning she says, the TAF says that it goes as high as 8,000 feet. And I'm like, okay, shall we go? She asked you, what would you say? Okay. Why not? Okay. However, I will have to make a point. It's unfamiliar terrain, but you have flown before on a high altitude. Will you still feel comfortable just crossing the Rocky Mountains and then make it safe? Okay, so that's a valid point. However, I do have to say that I myself was familiar already flying with high altitude. So it was kind of like a gut feeling, but it was already a background experience that I had before. So I'm kind of like, like on a familiar terrain when it comes to altitude. So I told her, well, I mean, it says 8,000 and it was a cool day, probably I will say like mid 60s. It was not too cold, but it was not warm, like very warm. So the performance of the plane, it was gonna be good regardless of the scenario, which is good. I mean, we have to also analyze that. In case of an emergency, how is the plane gonna react, right? Those things we need to have them in consideration as well, because at least in Texas is extremely hot and dry. It's just the worst to get like an engine failure on a summertime. And also I've noticed that it's extremely like has a lot of trees. So my training I did it in Florida, which is very flat, but you can land somewhere, right? Here in Texas is more like a lot of trees. So those things are also to have consideration. So I told her, let's go. Because then we won't be able to get out of here until probably the end of the week. So we took an educated decision of going up all the way to 8,000, almost 9,000 feet, to have a little bit more of room. And then it was beautiful. We went super early in the morning. We departed IFR because it was, winter time, so it was very dark when we left. But we were also we filed an IFR flight plan, so we were able to be in contact with ATC at all times, just in case. And it was probably one of the best decisions at that moment. Okay, cool. So that's environmental factors. Again, it reroutes back to I'm safe. It reroutes back to everything that could potentially affect your flight. And sorry. Yes. So anything in regards to how does my flight will get affected if this happens, right? How would I get affected if this happens to my plane? Things like that. How can I cushion that? It's not always if it happens. It is always when it happens. It's not like, oh, if it happens, then I can think about it, right? It's, oh, when it happens, how am I going to react? How am I going to take action? How am I going to do this and that? It's always that mentality of if happens versus when it happens, right? All right. And then the last one, E. Same. So everything, long story short, connects with external factors. Again, it's just very cyclical. And at the end of the day, you are the one who's making those decisions, right? Okay, well, that was good. We have just a few minutes left. I think, if I'm not wrong, let me just double check because sometimes I tend to chat a lot. So I am going to double check. Okay, so we do have, I feel like we could have another hour. Is that correct? Wait. Yep, I feel like we have another hour. Okay, cool. That sounds good. All right. Is there anything you ladies want me to talk about more in depth? Any questions or like something in between?
I have to leave in a couple of minutes. I had a question just to
Yeah.
get your take on it. I am a private pilot, with probably not as many hours as I like, but I'm going to start working on my IFR here probably in a couple of months after I have another surgery. I have dyslexia. Where would you think I would begin? Start reading the instrument book just to get a base foundation to start learning all the acronyms. I know it's a different beast compared to private pilot and it can be very challenging, but do you have any suggestions for good study habits and how to tackle that?
Honestly, I will say that on my end, I starting, familiarizing myself with a lot of procedures. Because instruments, it is a lot of procedures. So what you're gonna face is, for example, yes, I'll go back to you, Corey, but instruments is based on 3 different things. So it's based on approaches, it's based on holdings and tracking and intercepting. Okay. These 3 main components are the ones who, are responsible as instruments as a whole. So if you get to master those 3 very fundamental topics, you get to understand way more of how instruments work. So it's not just about reading the book, because reading, at least to me, it does feel a little bit old school, but also visualizing it. Like if you want to go ahead and look for videos and starting up ahead, how can I read a chart, like a procedure chart? How can I start familiarizing myself with holdings? How can I start familiarizing myself with tracking and intercepting vectors or radials? For example, those things are gonna go around the book, but it's important for you to like break it down into those 3 things. It did work for me because instrument is super wide. It's super wide and it tends to be very repetitive. So I will say that start with how to, whatever you want. How can I hold? What are the type of holdings? Because at the end of the day, the theory itself is just gonna self-explain. It's gonna come out of it, just as on its own. So for example, if you start reading about holdings, what type of holdings can we find? Oh, we can find parallel, direct, and teardrop. Okay, how can I make this entrances? So, and they start explaining to you, this is a teardrop. We come from here and we have to do this. If we go to that, so they start dismembraning all of it. Whatever topic you want to talk about or read about, just break it into how, why, and what. But like, what is a teardrop? How can I do it? Why do I do it? Or how can I incorporate it, But that's in whatever topic you want. I mean, instruments starts with those topics, especially with GPS and whatnot, but just grab whatever topic and just break it down into those 3 questions. How can I do them? Or what do they mean, right? What is a holding? Why do I need to do them? And how can I do them? And from those 3 questions, you can master whatever knowledge you want. What is it? Why is it important for you? And how can you do that? Alrighty. And yes, Corey. So CFI, believe it or not, is an external factor. Yes. And I do relate myself to that because I soloed with 60 hours on my logbook. And as amazing as it sounds, it was very painful. It was, I feel like I had to fight for my solo, you know? It was nothing close to enjoyable. I feel like I had to put up a word to get my solo when I was doing my private, because I was not being heard. I was not being, considerate into my progress. I feel like they gave me excuses and was like, you are pushing me to a level that is your own personal standards as a CFI. But to me, I'm already fulfilling the ACS to the fullest. So why are you not letting me do this? Is there anything else on your personal spectrum that is not letting me do it? So already there has already created a tension between you and your CFI. So if your CFI is already, and it just is an example because it happens to me, it happened. If your CFI is just telling you things like, uh, let me tell you, we're gonna have 3 more landings and then you can solo, or we're gonna have this whatever more procedures and then you can do it. That to me sounds like, okay, but what if I do it and you don't let me do it? That is already for me putting a lot of pressure. So yes, CFI, it is an external pressure if you do feel that way, because CFI is to be enjoyable. We are there to guide you and to prevent you from this risk, to like, hey, why, I know you like this decision, but let me put here another one. Which one do you like the most? So we are there to enhance your path with other options besides the one you already have and probably have carried with you for a long time. Sorry, my Is there like a specific scenario that you are having with your CFI? Oh, okay, I mean, weather is a very wide topic. I will say it is a very tedious topic to talk about because indeed is something that we need to know, right? But I feel like you shouldn't be and that's fine. I mean, that's completely valid. And I feel like you should let him know as your instructor, because we as instructors, we act and we put up with a plan based on your behavior, based on how you feel comfortable, based on your experience. So if you don't feel like you are safe, like not safe, but maybe not comfortable in bad weather, then he can break it down a little bit more into pieces. So I think he could potentially introduce you more to the fact of what happened if, right? So per se, if we're flying, for example, through a portion of a sky that seems that is building up, and you're like, oh, it's a thunderstorm, we're gonna, flip it's an exaggeration, but if we have that case, I'm already putting up with expectations. Okay, Corey, so this is what we should expect. We are going to expect, bumpy air. We should expect a little bit of showers, but nothing safety threatening or anything like that that could put us at risk, So I feel like if you share this with your instructor, he might be able to put up a plan for warmly introduce you more into weather and make you feel a little bit more comfortable when you're flying into weather. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, us as instructors, absolutely. And us as instructors, we have students that we can't read their thoughts, so we have to go with what you guys tell us, So if you don't tell him like, hey, I don't feel comfortable flying in this type of weather, but I am open to the idea to fly within a certain weather, then I can get familiarized with this experience and maybe I can, level it up on the next time. But if you don't tell him, he will not know. And per se, he will just keep continue like, let's take you out to this super windy area that you might not feel comfortable, and that is not going to end in a good experience for you as a student, because we already, have been through this type of air, have been through this type of bumpy weather, etc., etc. But then you might build a resentment on flying on that area of windy area or bumpy area or whatever, that you don't want to fly it no more. You feel me? And so it's gonna create a bad experience on your end. That at the end you're gonna be like, oh no, I don't want to fly, or I don't feel like flying, So it's gonna close a little bit more that gap of like experience. Yeah, but definitely let him know so he can break it down for you. Is there any other question you might have, or any other area that you want to talk about, or you're all good? Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for staying. Thank you for giving me the chance. Hope to see see you too also around the area. And if you have any questions, my profile is, I'm not sure if it's available at the group. Yes, of course. Absolutely. It's my pleasure. If you have any more questions, I'm not sure if my email is out there, my contact information, but feel free. Of course, that is my pleasure. I love it. Sounds good. And I'll just send you my email here if you want, just in case, because I'm not sure if my contact information is out there, honestly. So I'll just send you my email right there. Also, if you want my phone, yes, my phone number. So this information is being also recorded. So if anybody wants to join, then absolutely. All righty. Well, thank you so much. You have right there my information. So if you want to ask more questions, feel free to come across my email, send me those questions. I'm more than happy to help. And if you need another session, again, I don't mind explaining. And this is a rehearsal for me as well. So all good. Don't worry about it. Yes, of course. All righty. I'll see you another time. Thank you for staying. Bye bye now. Take care.